So, the drama just exploded in Heartland Season 19, Episode 1, and honestly, I didn't think it would start this intense. Forget calm family vibes, things got messy real quick. Lindy, sweet little Lindy, the one we've all watched grow up with so much love in her heart, just shocked everyone with how she feels about Nathan. And let me tell you, it's not just dislike, she straight up hates him. The way she looked at him, the tension in her voice, the pain behind her words. It all screamed one thing: she's not ready to let anyone replace her dad. Not now, not ever. The new episode took that heartbreak we all felt after Dee's death and twisted it into something raw, uncomfortable, and deeply human. Because behind all the smiles and small-town warmth, Heartland just reminded us grief doesn't fade. It just changes shape. The next part of the episode dives even deeper into the storm between Lindy, Amy, and Nathan. The morning after that emotional breakdown, you can practically feel the tension in the air at Heartland. It's quiet but not peaceful, the kind of quiet where you know everyone's walking on thin ice. Amy's in the kitchen making breakfast, trying to pretend everything's fine. But the silence between her and Lindy says otherwise. Lindy barely looks at her, keeps her head down, and when Nathan walks in, that silence turns into pure ice. The second he says good morning, Lindy just gets up and walks out without a word. That moment right there says everything. This isn't just a kid being moody. This is a wound that's still wide open, and it's bleeding through every part of their home. What's crazy is how Nathan handles it. Most people would snap or pull away, but he doesn't. He just looks at Amy, gives this tiny nod, and goes outside to help Caleb with the horses, pretending like nothing happened. But you can tell it's eating him alive. Out in the stables, Caleb finally calls him out. He's like, "Man, you can't keep letting that little girl walk all over you." And Nathan, without missing a beat, says, "She's not just a little girl. Caleb, she's Dee's daughter." That line hits hard because it shows that Nathan gets it. He knows where that anger is coming from, but it still doesn't make it any easier to take. He's stuck in this strange space, trying to be supportive without overstepping, trying to love Amy without replacing Ty, and trying to exist in a world that still belongs to someone else. Meanwhile, Amy's losing her mind trying to keep the peace. She goes after Lindy, trying to talk to her, but every conversation turns into another fight. Lindy throws out lines like, "You said you never forget Dad. And why do you smile when he's around?" And every word just hits Amy like a punch to the chest. You can see that she wants to scream, to tell Lindy she's not replacing Ty, that she's just trying to find happiness again, but she can't because in a way, she's still figuring that out for herself. The pain in Amy's eyes during those scenes is unreal. She's torn between being a mother and being a woman who still deserves love. And that conflict is breaking her down piece by piece. Then comes the twist, a small one, but one that completely changes the tone. Lou shows up, unannounced, clearly sensing that something's off. She's been through her own heartbreaks and knows what grief does to a family. But even she's shocked when she sees how cold Lindy's gotten. She tries to lighten the mood, cracking a few jokes, helping with chores. But Lindy won't even smile. And when Lou gently brings up Nathan, Lindy snaps. "Why does everyone keep talking about him like he belongs here? He's not family." That line hits like thunder. You can see Lou's face drop because she realizes this isn't something Amy can fix overnight. Later that day, Amy finds Lindy in the barn, brushing Spartan. That scene right there, it's pure heartbreak. Lindy's crying quietly, whispering to Spartan, saying how she wishes her dad was still there, how everything felt safe when he was around. Amy just watches from the doorway, too afraid to interrupt. When she finally does, she says something soft like, "You know your dad would want us to be happy, right?" But Lindy shakes her head and says, "Not with him." That silence that follows is brutal. Amy wants to comfort her, but for the first time, she realizes that maybe Lindy doesn't need comfort, she needs time. And that realization scares her because time is exactly what Amy doesn't have. At the same time, Nathan's dealing with his own set of problems. His sister, who we saw in the trailer, finally makes her move. She shows up at the ranch uninvited, claiming she wants to check in, but everyone knows she's got her own agenda. She starts stirring things up right away, making comments about how Amy's moving on too fast, how the town still whispers about her, and how Nathan's making a fool of himself chasing a ghost. The worst part? Lindy overhears that entire conversation. She hears Nathan's sister saying that Amy's still hung up on Ty and that Nathan's wasting his time. And that moment plants a dangerous seed in Lindy's mind. If even Nathan's own family doesn't think Amy truly loves him, then why should she? That night, everything blows up. Amy and Nathan sit down to talk about what happened earlier, and for the first time, they actually argue. Nathan says, "I'm trying, Amy, I'm trying so hard to make this work." But Amy fires back, "You don't understand. She's just a child." And he says, "No, she's not just a child. She's your mirror." Everything she's saying is what you're too afraid to admit. That line changes everything. Because he's right, Lindy's anger is just the reflection of Amy's own fear. And you can see that realization hit Amy like a ton of bricks. She goes quiet, tears building up, and Nathan just sighs and walks out. You can tell he doesn't want to leave. But he knows he needs to give her space. Outside, he runs into Lou, who tells him, "You picked one hell of a family to fall in love with, and for the first time." Nathan laughs not because it's funny, but because it's true. He knows that loving Amy means accepting everything that comes with her pain, her past, and the daughter who might never accept him. But he also knows he's in too deep to walk away. The episode ends this section on a haunting note, Nathan sitting alone under the stars, looking at the house, watching Amy through the window as she hugs Lindy goodnight. It's a quiet scene, but you can feel everything in it: love, heartbreak, and that lingering question of whether they'll ever truly be a family. Heartland has always been about healing, but this episode shows that healing doesn't come easy. Sometimes, before things get better, they have to completely fall apart. And right now, that's exactly what's happening. Amy's love for Nathan is being tested. Lindy's grief is turning into defiance. And Nathan's patience is wearing thin. Something's got to give, and when it does, it's going to change everything at Heartland. By the time we reach the next part of Heartland Season 19, Episode 1, the emotional storm is full-on chaos. The calm ranch we've always known now feels like a battlefield, not the loud kind, but the kind where silence hurts more than shouting. Lindy isn't speaking to Nathan. Amy's walking around like she's holding her breath. And Lou's just trying to keep everyone from completely falling apart. You can see it in every glance, every awkward pause. This family's balance is slipping. And right in the middle of it, Nathan's sister keeps stirring the pot, making sure no one forgets that she's there to cause trouble. The tension finally explodes during a small family dinner. It starts off simple, just Amy, Nathan, Lindy, and Lou at the table. There's this uneasy calm as Amy tries to start a conversation, but every time she speaks, Lindy just picks at her food. Nathan tries to join in, asking Lindy about her horse riding lessons. But she cuts him off with a cold, "You don't need to act like my dad." The whole table freezes. Lou immediately tries to change the subject, but it's too late. Amy's face drops and Nathan just sits there, completely stunned. He's not angry, just heartbroken. You can tell he's been trying so hard, walking this fine line between being there and not pushing too much. And now it's like all that effort meant nothing. Amy excuses herself to the kitchen, but everyone knows it's just an excuse to cry in private. Nathan stays quiet, and that's when Lou steps in. She tells Lindy that wasn't fair, but Lindy just glares at her and storms off. Lou gives Nathan this look that says hang in there. But even she can tell he's reaching his breaking point. When Amy comes back, eyes red and voice shaky, Nathan finally says what's been sitting on his chest the whole episode. "Maybe I don't belong here." It's the kind of line that instantly changes the room. Lou freezes, Amy's eyes go wide, and for a second, no one breathes. Then Amy says, "Don't say that," but Nathan just shakes his head. "I'm trying to build a future with someone who's still living in the past." That line hits hard because it's true. And Amy knows it. After dinner, Amy goes to find Lindy, but the girl's already in the barn again. Her safe space. This time, she's not alone. She's talking to Grandpa Jack. He's the only one who truly understands her grief, because he's lived through his own. The conversation between them might be the most powerful scene of the episode. Lindy tells him she hates Nathan and Jack doesn't scold her, he just listens. Then he says something simple but heavy, "Hates just love with nowhere to go, sweetheart." That line stops Lindy cold. She doesn't respond, but you can see it sink in. Jack doesn't push her. He just pats her shoulder and tells her that her dad wouldn't want her to carry that much anger. It's the kind of wisdom only Jack can deliver, quiet, honest, and full of love. Meanwhile, Nathan's packing up his truck. He's not leaving for good, but he needs space. Amy finds him out there, headlights on, the cold air biting. And you can tell she's scared he's actually going to drive away. She says, "Please don't go," and he just looks at her with tired eyes and says, "I don't know what else to do." It's one of those moments where neither of them is wrong. Amy's torn between protecting her daughter and holding onto a man who's finally made her feel alive again. Nathan's torn between fighting for love and respecting the boundaries of a family, still trapped in grief. It's heartbreaking because you know they love each other, but love doesn't always fix everything. Just when it feels like he might leave, Jack walks out of the barn. He doesn't yell or lecture, he just looks at Nathan and says, "Running won't make it hurt less." That line hits like a hammer. Nathan nods slowly, looks at Amy and says, "I'll stay. But I can't keep pretending this doesn't hurt," and that's when Amy finally cracks. She admits everything she's been holding in, how she still dreams about Ty, how she feels guilty for smiling again, how every time Nathan touches her hand, She wonders if she's betraying her past. The way she says it is raw, trembling, and real. Nathan listens quietly, then says, "You're not replacing him. Amy, you're just learning how to live without him." And that right there, that one line, completely changes the mood. For a second, everything softens. Amy breaks down crying, Nathan holds her, and for the first time, it feels like they might actually make it through this storm. But then, just as things start to calm down, Lindy walks out of the barn and sees them hugging. Her face falls, eyes wide with hurt. She doesn't say a word, she just turns and runs into the dark. Amy calls after her, panicking, and the whole moment of peace shatters in an instant. The camera follows Amy as she chases Lindy into the night, calling her name, voice breaking. It's this chilling, desperate scene where you can feel the fear not just of losing her daughter, but of losing control over everything she's been trying to hold together. When Amy finally finds Lindy sitting near the old pond, she's crying, saying she wishes her dad could come back. Amy kneels beside her, crying too, saying, "I miss him every day," and in that quiet, painful moment, they finally understand each other again. Both grieving the same man but in completely different ways. Lindy admits that she's scared her mom doesn't need her dad anymore, and Amy promises that no one could ever take his place. But she also tells her that Ty wouldn't want them to stop living just because he's gone. That's when Lindy finally leans into her mom's arms, and they sit there under the stars, holding onto each other, broken, but still together, back at the ranch. Nathan's sitting on the porch, watching the night sky. When Amy and Lindy come back, Lindy walks past him without saying anything, but this time, there's no anger in her eyes, just sadness. It's progress, even if it's small. Amy looks at Nathan, gives a faint smile, and says she'll come around. Nathan doesn't answer, but you can see the hope flicker in his eyes again. The episode's tone starts to shift from pure grief to something new, not happiness yet, but healing. Slow, fragile healing. Heartland Season 19 Episode 1 isn't just another emotional opener. It's a reminder that healing isn't pretty. It's messy, it hurts, and sometimes it breaks you before it fixes you. But even through all that pain, there's still love that refuses to die, even when everything else falls apart. And as the credits roll, you can feel it, the storm isn't over, but the sun's trying to break through. The next part of Heartland Season 19 Episode 1 takes a softer turn. But it's that kind of quiet where emotions are still raw and the air feels heavy, like the storm passed, but everything's still soaked from the rain. The morning after Amy and Lindy's breakdown, the ranch feels strangely calm. You can almost feel the weight of what just happened the night before. Amy wakes up early, her eyes tired, her face pale, but there's a new kind of determination in her. She's not running anymore. She's ready to face things head on, no matter how painful they are. And that's where the real shift begins, not just for Amy, but for everyone. Lindy's still distant, but something's changed in her eyes. She's quieter, more thoughtful. She watches her mom more closely now, like she's trying to understand what's really going on instead of just reacting. There's a scene in the barn where she finds Amy brushing Spartan the same way Ty used to. The morning light hits her mom's face, and for the first time in what feels like forever, Lindy doesn't look angry. She just says, "You miss him a lot, don't you?" Amy nods without even turning around, saying softly, "Every day." That's when Lindy says, "Me too." It's simple, but that one moment feels like a wall finally cracking. After all the yelling, the silence, the cold stares, they finally find common ground again. And it's built on grief. Meanwhile, Nathan's still keeping his distance. He's there at the ranch, helping out, but he's moving quietly, giving Amy and Lindy their space. You can see how hard it is for him. Every time he looks at Amy, you can tell he wants to reach out, to fix things. But he's scared of overstepping again. Caleb tries to lighten the mood by joking around, saying, "Man, you're acting like a guest in your own life," but Nathan just shrugs and says, "Maybe I am." It's a powerful line because you can feel how lonely he is, surrounded by people, but still completely on the outside. Then, as if things weren't complicated enough, Nathan's sister decides to push even harder. She corners Amy near the paddock, acting all fake sweet but dripping with poison underneath. She says things like, "You know, Nathan's too good for all this drama, and it's not fair to string him along when you're clearly not over your husband." Amy doesn't respond right away, she just stares at her, calm but furious. Finally, she says, "You don't know me, and you sure as hell don't know what's fair." It's the first time in a long time we see Amy fight back, not out of anger but out of strength. She's done being judged for how she chooses to heal. She walks away and the sister just smirks. But you can tell Amy's words hit her harder than she'll admit. After that, Amy goes to talk to Nathan. This is the moment. The entire episode has been building toward the confrontation that's not just about them, but about everything they've been carrying since Dee's death. Amy finds him fixing the fence near the west field, sweat on his forehead, sun beating down. and she just stands there for a second before speaking. Her voice trembles when she says, "I don't know how to do this right." Nathan looks up, confused. "Do what?" She takes a deep breath and says, "Love someone again." That line breaks both of them. Nathan puts the tools down, wipes his hands, and just listens. Amy continues, her voice shaking, "I've been trying so hard to be strong for everyone, for Lindy, for the ranch, for T's memory. But I forgot how to be honest about what I feel. And what I feel right now is guilt." Nathan doesn't interrupt. He just steps closer, quiet, patient. Then he says, "You don't owe anyone an apology for trying to live." That's when Amy finally breaks down again, but this time, it's not about pain, it's release. All that guilt, all that fear finally pouring out. She tells him that she thought she could move forward while still holding on to Ty. But she realizes she's been holding too tight to the past. Nathan tells her, "You don't have to let go of him to hold on to me." And that line, that one moment, hits like lightning. Because that's the truth Amy's been running from all season. She doesn't have to erase her past to have a future while all of this is happening. Lindy's watching from the barn door again, but this time it's different. She's not angry. She's curious. You can see that she's starting to understand that maybe Nathan isn't trying to replace her dad. Maybe he's just trying to be part of the family in his own way. She sees how gentle he is with her mom, how patient he's been despite everything. And for the first time, her expression softens. Later, she even helps Nathan carry feed buckets without being asked. It's awkward, sure, but it's progress. Nathan notices and gives her a small smile, but he doesn't say anything. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Then there's a small but emotional scene between Lindy and Jack that ties everything together. They're sitting on the porch swing, watching the sun go down, and Jack says, "Your mom's been through a lot. So have you. But you've got something she doesn't, time. Use it wisely." Lindy looks at him, confused, and he adds, "You don't have to forgive anyone right away. Just don't close your heart." It's a line that could easily sound cheesy in any other show. But in Heartland, it hits perfectly. Because that's the message this whole episode's been building toward. Healing isn't about forgetting, it's about opening up again. Even when it hurts. Toward the end of the episode, Amy, Lindy, and Nathan share a quiet dinner together. No Lou, no outsiders, just them. It's awkward at first, but there's something different in the air this time. When Nathan asks Lindy if she wants more potatoes, she actually answers, not with an attitude, but a simple yes, please, and Amy just smiles, a small but real smile. It's not perfect, it's not all fixed, but it's something. And in Heartland, that something means everything. As night falls, Amy steps outside one last time, looking up at the stars. She talks quietly to Ty, not out loud, just in her heart, and tells him she's trying. The camera lingers on her face as a single tear rolls down, but this time, it's not from sadness. It's peace. Because even though T's gone, his love still lives in every corner of that ranch. In Lindy's strength. In Amy's heart, and maybe, just maybe, in Nathan's patience. Heartland Season 19 Episode 1 doesn't end with fireworks or big drama. It ends with stillness, that soft kind of hope that only comes after the storm. The family's not healed yet, but they're finally walking toward it. Amy's learning how to let love back in. Lindy's learning how to let go of her anger, and Nathan's learning that sometimes being part of a family means standing in the background until they're ready to see you. It's powerful, it's emotional, and it's exactly the kind of storytelling that keeps Heartland alive after all these years. By the time Heartland Season 19 Episode 1 reaches its closing act, everything feels quieter, but that kind of quiet that's full of emotion. Like the calm after a storm when you realize the world didn't fall apart, it just changed. The final moments of this episode aren't about big reveals or loud confrontations. They're about the little things that show how far these characters have come and how much further they still have to go. The camera takes us through the ranch. One peaceful shot at a time, the horses resting in their stalls, the wind moving through the fields, and the distant sound of laughter coming from the house. It's not perfect harmony, but it's healing in motion. Inside the house, Amy sits at the table, flipping through an old photo album she hasn't opened in years. Pictures of her and Ty, baby Lindy, family dinners, all those moments that used to hurt too much to look at now, bring a soft kind of comfort. You can see it in her face, she's still grieving, but she's no longer trapped by it. She closes the album gently, runs her hand over the cover, and whispers, "Thank you." That moment feels like closure, not the end of her love for Ty, but the beginning of her next chapter. Then we cut to Lindy sitting outside with Spartan. She's brushing him the same way Amy does, her movements careful, gentle. You can tell she's learning more from her mom than she realizes. Nathan walks over quietly and says, "He likes you. You've got the same calm energy as your mom." Lindy looks up and says, "Mom says Spartan used to be Dad's favorite." Nathan nods, replying, "Yeah, I heard that." Guess that makes you his new favorite. Lindy smiles for the first time in what feels like the whole season, a real, unguarded smile. That one small moment says everything. The ice between her and Nathan isn't gone, but it's cracking. Meanwhile, Jack's watching all of this from the porch. You can see a little pride in his eyes. He's been through decades of loss, change, and rebuilding, and seeing Amy slowly open her heart again feels like watching his own legacy continue. He knows better than anyone that life on that ranch isn't about happy endings. It's about getting back up every time the world knocks you down. Later, Lou joins him outside, coffee in hand, and she says they're finding their way. Jack nods and replies, they always do. Heartland's built for that. It's a simple line, but it sums up the entire episode perfectly. Then comes one of the most emotionally loaded scenes of the whole episode. Amy visiting T's memorial spot by the tree. It's late evening, the sky painted with gold and pink hues, and the wind is soft. Amy kneels down, her voice quiet but steady. She tells Ty about Lindy, how much she's grown, how stubborn she is, how she's so much like him it hurts sometimes. She admits she's scared to move forward, scared to forget, scared to love again, but she also says she's tired of letting that fear control her. Her voice breaks when she says, you'll always be part of me, Ty, but I think I'm ready to live again. The camera holds that silence for a moment. Just the wind rustling the leaves. It's one of those moments that hits so deep because it's so raw and human. Back at the ranch, Lindy's waiting for her mom to come home. She's made dinner, nothing fancy, just grilled cheese and soup, but it's her way of showing she cares. When Amy walks in, surprised, Lindy says, I thought you'd be hungry. Amy smiles, sits down, and they eat together quietly. It's the kind of scene that says more than any long conversation could. You can feel that something has shifted, not everything's fixed. But the door between them is open again after dinner. Nathan stops by to check on the horses before heading out. He pauses at the door and looks at Amy, unsure if he should say goodbye or just leave quietly. But Amy stands up and says, stay for a minute. They step out onto the porch together. The star's just starting to come out. Amy tells him she's grateful, not just for the help, but for his patience. She says, you didn't push, you just stayed. And that means more than you know. Nathan doesn't try to make it romantic. He just nods and says, that's what you do for people you care about. It's subtle, but you can feel the connection forming again, slow, steady, and real. The episode wraps up with one final montage. Amy, Nathan, Lindy, Jack, and Lou all caught in small, beautiful moments of everyday life. Lou's working late at the kitchen table, Jack's oiling a saddle, Nathan's fixing a broken gate, Lindy's laughing with Spartan, and Amy's standing in the doorway, watching them all. There's a quiet smile on her face, a look that says she finally believes they're going to be okay. And then comes the last shot, the one that hits you right in the heart. Amy walks to the edge of the pasture, the night sky glowing above her. She looks up, whispers, good night, Ty, and the camera pans to the stars. One of them flickers brighter for a moment, just a little, before fading into the darkness. It's the kind of ending that doesn't need words. It's hope, grief, love, and peace all at once. Heartland Season 19, Episode 1 closes out on a note that perfectly sets up the rest of the season. A story about healing, forgiveness, and second chances. It's about how grief doesn't disappear, it just changes shape. It becomes part of who you are, guiding you toward the people who make life worth living again. And for Amy, that means learning that moving forward isn't betrayal, it's survival. You can tell the next episodes are going to dive deeper into this, Amy finding her rhythm again, Lindy figuring out who she wants to be, Nathan earning his place in their world, and the rest of the family dealing with their own quiet battles. But this first episode? It's the emotional reset Heartland needed. It's raw, honest, and real, the kind of storytelling that reminds you why this show's been running for nearly 2 decades. So yeah, if you thought Heartland was running out of stories to tell, this episode proves it's just getting started. The heart, the pain, the love, it's all still here, just evolved. Because at the end of the day, Heartland has always been about one thing, finding your way back home, no matter how far you've drifted. And that's exactly where Season 19 begins, right back where it all started. Under those same endless Alberta skies. From the very first scene, you can feel something's off. Amy's trying her best to hold everything together, the ranch, her daughter, and that fragile new relationship with Nathan, but the air feels thick, heavy. It's like the whole place remembers Ty, every fence post, every horse. Every inch of that land still echoes his name. And that's the problem. Because while Amy's trying to move forward, Lindy's stuck in the past. She doesn't want another man around the house, especially one who dares to touch the things her dad built. You can see it in the way she watches Nathan, cold eyes, distant tone, like she's waiting for him to mess up so she can prove he doesn't belong there. What's crazy is Nathan can feel it too. The guy's walking on eggshells every time Lindy's in the room. He's trying to be kind, patient, understanding, but no matter what he does, it's wrong. If he helps Amy fix something around the ranch, Lindy stares at him like he's invading sacred ground. If he tries to talk about horses, she shuts him down. There's this one moment where he offers to saddle up Spartan for her and she just says, "You don't touch him. That's my dad's horse." Boom, silence. That one line hits hard. Because you can see Nathan crumble a little right there. He's not trying to be Ty, he knows he can't, but hearing it said out loud, it cuts deep. Amy, of course, notices all of it. She's torn in two, trying to balance her daughter's pain and her own guilt. Because as much as she wants to move on, part of her wonders if she's betraying T's memory too. The episode plays on that inner conflict perfectly, Amy trying to convince herself that it's okay to love again, while Lindy's silent anger keeps reminding her of everything she's lost. The tension between them is heartbreaking. There's a scene where Amy tucks Lindy into bed, trying to talk about Nathan, and Lindy whispers, "If you marry him, will Dad disappear forever?" That line, it's pure emotion. Amy freezes, tears in her eyes, because deep down, that's the same question she's been asking herself all season. Heartland Season 19 Episode 1 isn't about romance or ranch drama. It's about facing ghosts that never left. It's about how love and loss can live in the same house, sometimes fighting for space. And as the episode ends with Amy quietly watching Nathan from a distance, you can tell this is just the beginning. Lindy's not done fighting. Nathan's not done trying, and Amy? She's caught in the middle of a storm she can't control, a storm named grief.